Hey guys, in this episode, Jackie and I are going to discuss how to take a bad experience and turn it into a good one. Be sure and listen to the end, and you'll hear one of Jackie's experiences where it went from not very good to fantastic and great. Hey guys, I'm John, this is Jackie, and this is Open Love 101. Welcome to our show. Today we're going to talk about what to do if you had a bad experience in the lifestyle at a club, at an event, at a party, whatever the case may be. But before we get started, please go to openlove101.com and give us your email address, and we will notify you of upcoming videos, blogs, etc., etc.
Yes, we will.
All right. What to do if you've had a bad experience?
I also want to talk about what to do if you've had a good experience.
Oh,
both
great.
sides of the thing, but
Yes.
we'll start with the negative one, I guess, first.
All right.
End it on something positive.
Well, I think having a bad experience can be a positive thing.
It can be.
I mean,
That's true. It depends on your outlook.
It does.
Yeah.
And depends on, I really try and not define things as good or bad.
Right.
It's more about, that's not what I expected to happen.
It's like, oh, well, that's how that went.
Yeah. And, try and learn from it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to say something. When I think back to experiences that I've had that were less than stellar, I can tell you that 100% of those is because of something I didn't do.
Okay. Example?
Like I didn't say something.
Like, no, thank you.
You'd like, no, thank you. No, I don't like that.
That's true. Now that I think about it, most of your situations where you were uncomfortable, it's because you didn't speak up for yourself,
right?
In your boundaries that you have,
right? And that that was one of my learning curves, starting out. Was learning to speak up for myself. If I had to learn to be an advocate for myself, and that was actually much harder than I thought it was going to be starting out. And that was especially, I had a lot of opportunities for that because we played separately. Mm-hmm. So there were times I was in situations where somebody would do something and ask me if I liked it, and I would be so shocked by it that I was either like, or just, instead of like, oh, you know what, that was different, but I don't know how much I like that, but I know I like this. Just even being able, and this is what can be even kind of sad, if I think about it too much, that I was, the age that I was, and in those situations, and not being the advocate for myself. Mm-hmm. When I look back, like I was afraid to speak up for myself, as opposed to where I am today.
Though in those situations, sometimes when we're put in a situation that's completely unexpected,
right?
We're like, we don't really know what to say, because I know what some of those situations were, so I'm not going to bring them up.
Yeah.
But if
they weren't dangerous, I'm not saying I was never in that kind of, it was just more of like, this person liked it and thought I might like it, and I didn't.
But if they had said something like this, like, do you mind if I wet my finger and put it in your ear?
Yeah, right.
Are you into that?
Yeah.
You would have said no right away. You'd be like, no, that's not really my thing.
Right.
In other situations where we know we don't like it, like there's, many women out there that don't like anal. And if someone says, hey, do you like anal? They know automatically what to say. They're not surprised by that question.
Right.
But in some of the situations you had, they were so different. Like, I'm like,
they
really?
just did it and then asked.
Yeah, after the fact.
After the fact, which is a teachable moment.
Yes.
So like, now I know that if I'm ever playing with somebody, I don't just do something and assume they're going to like it.
Right.
Better to check, better to be safe than sorry.
Yes.
This person wasn't wanting me to have a bad experience.
No.
At all, so it wasn't like they were trying to do something that was going to create an issue. And so, I try to keep those things in mind as well when we're talking about a bad experience. If we can just remind ourselves that, everybody's bringing their own perceptions and their own tools to the table.
And their own experiences.
Their own experiences.
maybe this guy has been with someone for 10 years and she loves to be choked.
Right.
But then he comes and he meets somebody else, and that's just he recognizes that this is something that this person likes, so he just assumes every woman does.
Right.
And then does it and finds,
that's not true.
Person's, doesn't really like that anymore. So,
right.
Or at all. And so that's why it's important to ask on those things. But it's also important to be understanding to the person that that's what they've known all their lives.
Right.
And so it's not like they're a bad person. They just may not know any better.
Right. Right.
Or they may really believe that that's what every woman likes.
Yeah.
So
it's about trying to go into these experiences with a positive mindset, so that if something like that does happen, we'll be more prepared to answer in a positive manner. And, again, like when I think back, it wasn't so much that I was going into these things with a positive or negative aspect. I think I was just going into them, I was still relatively new. And, when I think about my toolbox then as opposed to now, I'm much more relaxed in those settings as opposed to then, where everything was still just kind of like so new.
For sure.
It was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Instead of like, just relax and, try to enjoy yourself. And if they do something that you don't like, it's okay. But make sure you come at it with, instead of like, I don't like this, offer what you do like. There's ways to intersect or, these kind of things and turn them into experiences that end up being positive. Even if that sometimes means, walking away, regrouping, and then coming back together.
Because there have been some experiences I've had where someone has done something that was maybe uncomfortable. And so my mind is like, oh, that's uncomfortable. And then that goes all the way down to the rest of my body. And it's like, that's uncomfortable. And it's really hard to turn that around and overcome that and get excited about doing something again.
Yeah.
And especially with a woman that felt, or a woman feels as though this is what she's used to doing, because women get used to doing certain things too. And maybe her man of 10 years is really like, that's what he enjoyed.
Yeah.
And she feels like I would have the same kind of enjoyment, but I don't.
Yeah.
And so I've been in situations like that where it's kind of hard to turn it into a positive, because I had high expectations. Like I wanted to see this person for a long time. And then we get to that point, and then Shazam, she does something that's like, whoa, what the hell was that? And then it's over.
And I didn't have anything in my toolbox to be like, let's do this instead.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had to leave for an hour and come back and be, I don't know. It was just, it was really, so I understand how women can feel in a situation too.
Yeah. And sometimes the experience is just what it is. And, you just maybe don't connect with that person. Maybe they're just, they're one way over here, but over here you don't really connect. And sometimes you can just, you can keep the friendship.
And that's the case in this instance I'm talking
about.
Yeah.
And do away with the sexual side of that relationship.
And that is a positive thing.
That is a positive thing.
Just because you guys aren't meshing sexually doesn't mean you can't mesh as people. And that's
right.
This person I'm thinking of, we got along really well, conversations and things like that. And so we continued that.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It just is what it is.
It is.
But the thing to do with that, and we recommend this anytime you have a play partner, is kind of at the end of that, when it's over, you have those conversations, whether it's been a solo play, with yourself. What did you like? What did you not like? What could you do better? What could you suggest? Or if it's been, as a partnership, you come together and talk about that as well.
And especially, I mean, well, both, but if it's a good experience too, it's
both,
really,
yeah.
It's we've had some great experiences, just us together talking about experience we had with other people.
Yes.
And sharing the good experience that we had.
Yes.
And that's what I think you do when you have a good experience. When you have a good experience, I love to hear about it.
Right.
Because that's ultimately what you want for your partner. You want your partner to have a good time.
Yeah.
At least I hope you do. And I mean, I do for sure.
Yeah.
And so to hear about, how your date went and how good it was, there's a misconception that it would, bother bother me, but it definitely doesn't. I feel like the love I have for you, I want you to be happy and have a good time no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know that's true. I mean, I know that's true because the times that you've come home and you've been like, yeah, it didn't really turn out the way I'd hoped. I'm like, oh, it's like I feel bad for you. So that says to me that, I have that same kind of wish for you. Like, I do want you to have a good time. I don't want you to have a bad time.
Right.
But I think talking about it helps us reaffirm like where we are, what we like, what our options are, what we have control over, the power that we have to be advocates for ourselves. And then when we're talking with our partner, we can also, come up with game plans. Maybe something happened that was very different. And so you can say, next time this ever happens, this is kind of the game plan. Or maybe, this is a better safe word. Or if you see me do this, or if I touch you this certain way, we're going to have that as a signal or something. So even those experiences can end up being positive. And, the other thing, I was in a club one time, and I've talked about this before, where the first experience was with you. You and I went to play, but other people in the club tried to interject in that, and it kind of freaked me out. And so I had this moment where I had to kind of separate myself, go back to like the main room and regroup. Now that could have gone a gabillion different ways. I could have been like, oh, I hate this place. I can't believe they did that, and really get myself all worked up and upset and leave and be, super upset about everything that was going on. But I realized that, one, I wasn't going to let these other people dictate my night, right? I didn't want those people to have control over what I was doing and what my goal was for that evening. And so once I had kind of regrouped and felt like I was ready to tackle it again, that's exactly what I did. And what's interesting in that scenario, because I had felt somewhat out of control, my backup plan, oddly enough, and it wasn't anything that I had consciously done, was to be very in control. Like I was the one that initiated the playtime with someone. Right. Yeah. And so then it ended up being this event that when I left, I had gone from feeling somewhat out of control to feeling very in control. And it was a really important lesson that I learned that night. And it was really valuable. And it taught me that, I don't have to be a victim to scenarios.
And you don't have to sit in that all night long.
And I don't have to sit in it.
Change your mind about your night.
I was. And it was like one of the best nights I've had.
We left it. It was a great experience.
Great experience. So, we have the power to do that.
Yeah.
So you can take an experience that maybe didn't feel stellar and it can end up being fantastic. So I hope this helps. Playtime, you're with somebody different, so it's going to be different.
It is going to be.
So it can be exciting, or you can learn something from it.
If you've made it this far, we hope you have. This type of discussion we're having, we do it once a week with people that are part of our Open Level 101 Plus members only group. We encourage you to sign up and join that. It's a great experience for all of us there.
Yeah.
And thanks for seeing and watching us today.
See ya.
Dang, I learned a lot from that video. Subscribe, and you can learn a lot more.